Hey folks, and welcome to this, my second video in my series on using GraphQL with Sitecore. In this video, we're going to take a short look at item queries. In the first video, we had a look at why we'd use GraphQL and how we could to get started, how to configure your Sitecore solution and configurations to enable the GraphQL API, and using the UI to run a basic query. In this video, we're going to take a closer look at how to do item queries, querying items as items, and then looking at querying items as strongly typed templated items, and how to look at the data inside typed fields such as multi-lists or link fields. For this tutorial, we're going to be using some Sitecore content items that I've created for some of my prior blog posts and videos and whatever. This content is also available on GitHub. And it's pretty straightforward. This is actually a JSS site inside SXA, but that doesn't matter because at the end of the day, these are Sitecore items in the tree, and we can query them with GraphQL as we would any other content item. We have a home, a blog homepage item, and within that, we have 4 blog article items, and they've got a few fields such as article title and a few other different field types that we're going to query. We also have a module data source which has a title and a multi-list, and we're going to use that to have a look at strongly typed fields later on. So let's get in there and do some queries on this data structure that we have. So as I said at the beginning, we're going to have a look at item queries, which is querying items straight out of the Sitecore content database. We're in the GraphQL UI, or at least the UI as it was until 10.2 came out. And over here on the right, you can see that we have the docs, the schema docs, if you like, that describe the things that we can do. We're going to look at using an item query, and we have the option to query by path and include a language and version parameter. So for now, we're just going to use the path. So look, we looked at the data a minute ago. So I actually happen to have pasted that into here, and okay, so we've queried that path. We've said give us an item, but we haven't told it what we want. So let's put name, and as you can see, the UI is giving us some really helpful information. Okay, let's hit that. Right, cool. Name block, not very helpful, but what else can we get out of it? Well, we can get the ID. Yeah, again, not very useful. But I also happen to know that there's a title field. So let me show you how to do that. And I guess the important thing to note here is that this is not typed. So Sitecore's GraphQL schema is going, here's an item, go and get some stuff out of the item, but it doesn't know that the field names article intro, article title, article date, and so on. It just knows it's an item that has fields. So, okay, we're going to go, okay, what's the field name? It is article title. Actually, that's not going to work for us either because we're actually looking at the blog. All right, let's just take that a step further. Let's go and get the children of this item. Cool, all right. This is going to give us all of the children. And here we go. Here's our 4 blogs. Great. All right, so we can carry on with what I was doing a second ago, and we'll get the field. Right, so we have to give it something to have a handle in our results. So, okay, we're going to call it title, field, name, oops, article, title. Again, this is not strongly typed, so I could type anything in there and it would succeed or fail depending on how correct I was in that. And we're going to get the value of that field. Cool, right. So as you can see in our results here, we now have the blog homepage. We have its ID. We have all of its children, which we've iterated through using the children item. And we can see the name and the title and the value. So what else can we do here? Well, I think we need to move on to the next step, which is to strongly type the data that we're getting out. So what I mean by strongly typed is we're actually going to reference the template type, the template name, and as soon as we do that, the Sitecore GraphQL content schema is going to say, oh, okay, and now I know what fields you have available because I know what template you're talking about. Right, so how we do this is using the GraphQL on statement. So we're going to, now as you see me typing here, Sitecore's GraphQL UI here is being really smart and it's telling me what templates do I have available. Started with the word BLO, so it's saying, okay, blog article. And that's what we want. So what we're really saying is for each child that we're iterating through in our GraphQL results set, I want you to treat that child as a blog article template type or a blog article strong type. Cool. All right. So we then have to wrap that in some curly braces, which is fine. And when we do this, the results are the same. But the key here is where I had title. I'm actually going to, well, I'll just leave that there. And in fact, if I start typing article, right, I get article title, which is awesome because now I know the actual field names within my template. So I just put value and the magic of Sitecore will go, oh, cool. What is the value of article title? As you can see here, it's identical. So we can carry on like that and we go on article intro, and put the value, see what happens. Awesome. So now we have the article title, the article intro. I'll just get rid of that extraneous nonsense there. And we now can extract using GraphQL, using strongly typed field names within our template, the data from our blog. Okay, so for the final part of this video, we're going to have a look at strongly typed fields. So this content tree we had a look at earlier, we've got the blogs. And down here we've got a data item, a data source item, which is used to populate a rendering. But whatever, it's an item. So it has a couple of fields. It's got module title, recommended blogs, and it's got a tree list that points to these items here. So I guess the point here is I'm going to show you how we can actually reference referenced items in multi-lists and fields, reference fields of that nature. Cool. Okay, let's have a crack at that. So looking at our path here, it's Sitecore blah 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 recommended for you, and there we are. So here's one I prepared earlier, as they say. I've got an item query pointing to a path, a rather lengthy path, and there's the data. There's the ID and the name. Right. So one thing I didn't show you earlier is we can actually go type name, and in the GraphQL world, type name, well, in the Sitecore GraphQL world, actually means the template name. Now, we want to actually pull some data out of this. So what we really need to do is tell it what kind of item we have on recommended for you, which is the type name I showed you a second ago, which is our template name. Okay, let's wrap that like we did a moment ago. All right, so same results, but now Sitecore's GraphQL UI knows that we're actually talking about a recommended for you template. So if I was to then start typing, oh, I get the module title, awesome. And we can get the value of that. Recommended blogs, cool. But what's the other field we want? We've got the recommended items field. So the thing about multi-list, these reference fields in Sitecore is that they contain a list of Sitecore IDs or GUIDs. And if we were to just pull the value out, that's not going to be very helpful. So what we really need to do is find a way to reference the target items in those fields. So if we just go recommended items, let's just see what happens. Let's type value. What are we going to get? Right, as I say, a pipe separated list of Sitecore IDs. Not a heck of a lot of use unless we know what those IDs are. But this is Sitecore. So we can actually reference the target items. And then we can pull out the name, the ID. Again, these untyped values. Fantastic. But like we did a second ago with recommended view and earlier with blog article, we can reference those target items as strongly typed items. So we really want to, we know that they're blog articles. So let's actually reference them as blog articles. Now all of a sudden, I have all the info at my disposal. So we've established that we can, well, let's just finish that off. Article title, I think there's no surprise what's going to happen here. Fantastic. Yep, okay. So what we've done here is we've referenced a tree list field as a field of an item and pulled out the actual reference data items from it. That's pretty powerful. Thanks very much for listening. And in future videos, we're going to have a look at search queries. And then beyond that, we'll look at other field types like link fields. We'll look at fragments, which is a way to reuse pieces of code in your GraphQL queries. We'll have a look at integrated GraphQL, which is a very Sitecore specific thing, and ways in which you can extend Sitecore GraphQL with custom code. Thanks very much. Look forward to seeing you then.